Welcome, Brooke Bierhaus, to the Crypto Media Frens, one of the OG Crypto Media Frens. I'm super happy to have you on this show because you are one that has always been like seemingly just a step ahead, like several steps ahead. Like I'm just like, hey, I wonder if this stuff, film works on blockchain. And you're like, well, I hosted a panel on South by Southwest on that. Okay, cool. Well, I'm wondering if it works as a streamer. Do you think it works? And you're like, well, I'm starting and helping a launch of a streaming service. And so always a few steps ahead. And so it's really interesting to hear about your journey. How did you get started, I think, in sort of becoming, I know you're a documentary filmmaker, but sort of gravitating towards blockchain as a tool?
Yeah, so my stepfather is deep into the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency. He's a professor in the blockchain of excellence at University of Arkansas. So he
Sorry,
is
what is that program called?
blockchain of excellence.
Blockchain of excellence. That is the
Yeah,
best name for any program ever.
I know. It's pretty fantastic. They're doing some incredible things. And so on my first feature film I started funding and filming in 2016. And that was for The Connected Cup, which was 4 years worth of filming and traveling. It encompasses 9 languages in 9 different countries to follow this idea of coffee and tea as a global language, which is what I am focusing my anthropology degree on. And then just what I'm really passionate about and can talk at lengths about. So maybe later on we'll get to this. But for the incorporating blockchain to that, I was a first-time filmmaker. Came out of school with a journalism degree, thought I wanted to do more of, television hosting and didn't really know how to fund a film. And I was explaining this to my stepfather and he said, well, let's get you some funding and we'll have everyone pay through Bitcoin. And I was like, what the heck is Bitcoin? Like, okay, I don't really understand how this is work. How am I going to work? How am I actually going to pay for my film? And so we came up with this, the best way to describe it is like it was Patreon before we had Patreon. So I would send updates to people who paid me in Bitcoin. And I would say, I'm in Tanzania. This is what I'm drinking this morning for coffee. This is how the film is going. And so I raised a good chunk of capital that way, was able to essentially decentralize film fundraising in that sense.
Brooke, this is amazing because, again, so many steps ahead. There's so many projects that are coming to the marketplace now. We're the first film ever to be funded by the blockchain, but you did this in 2016, 2017?
Yeah, throughout 2016 through, let's see, the film came out at the end of 2019. Very lackluster film, premiere. I had no idea how to do, I did self-distribution, like all of that really is the reason why I got so frustrated with distribution and was like, how can I still own my content, allow people to watch it, have a way that feels like the viewer can also be a part of this and make money or, make some sort of monetary value in that sense. And then could possibly, because the film does deal a lot with different nonprofits, it's individuals who are working on activism, and like coffee is this really vehicle to talk about all these stories. And so I was like, it'd be great if viewers could easily send money or like support in that way, which is why, last year and when we first got together, got connected, I was really focused on really the distribution side of that and how like streaming and all of that could work.
Yeah, it sort of bookends our experience, right? It's sort of the fundraising, which you've already disrupted, then the filmmaking part of it, and then sort of the missing component, to bookend the experience of is the distribution to show the work and to get it seen, as well as you said, to monetize in some capacity for the people are watching, and that's super difficult. And I think you sort of stepped into finding an avenue of sorts with I can't remember, what was the company's name, that platform that you were
Gaze TV. It was GAZE TV. And they're still working through. They're like beta and everything, I would say too. I've had good experience with them. I like their ecosystem, but I think it's so hard because everything's so new and fresh that it's like there's so many kinks that need to be worked out. There's so many aspects to it, and So we'll see how they keep on progressing.
There's a lot of new technology and a lot of new players who want to come in and try and disrupt. And I think you're also a part of another, which is the behemoth in the space, which is Theta. And
Yeah.
take us through you went through the Theta auditions, right?
Yes. Oh, that was, you know what? I love, I thrive in those audition sides. I was like, the streaming key is the main point with Theta. Having that streaming key allows my channel to be able to stream and get people to watch without having them go through like Theta Edge node. And so that was a big component for me. You get on the main page, and that was something that, as you know, an early user, I was like, I want to be at the forefront of this. I'd love, grand ideas of having like a big channel, having like a morning show, things like that I think would be really cool. I haven't put a ton of time towards that. So, the follower count and things like that, it's around like 100, which if you look at those large other
That's the
streamers
biggest
with the
audience.
key.
Yeah, in the history of Theta. Come on.
Right. Yeah,
This is all early days, and there
it
is no
is.
judgment on numbers, I think, by anyone at this point. It's just about achieving, as you said, getting on the front page, making those early adopter moves so that you are, at the forefront when you're ready, and when you have, defined your voice. And it sounds like through your documentary filmmaking, you've sort of refined your voice and what you want to say. And so how has that led you into, sort of furthering this into other avenues outside of cinema?
Yeah, it's interesting. So in terms of Theta for the streaming, which I do think is actually has been great, is I have been able to workshop a lot of my films that are in post even still. One of my latest films, Regeneration of Land and Culture, looks at the influence of buffalo to climate change, but also the impact and significance for Quapaw Nation here in northeastern Oklahoma, about an hour from me, and is an indigenous symbol of strength and resilience. And the film itself it's a short documentary. It's about 20 minutes, but when I was workshopping, I could stream on Theta and have like a private screening, and people would come in, there was actually really helpful notes of I could see when there was engagement, and when people who had no idea what I was screening would come in, and then they'd stay for a while and they'd like watch and ask questions. How can we watch the full thing? Some people would say, like, I don't understand, like, it's hard for me to understand this person. So I added some captions, things that, like, we used to do as with an audience, or, have those beta screenings and testers. And so it's been really cool in that sense to do with Theta, which I think is really interesting. But straddling the line between documentary filmmaking and my other work as a journalist and TV presenter, I also am trying to finish up my master's degree in anthropology. So all of that's kind of they're all really laced together, but it is interesting to try to build upon each of those in a way that feels meaningful to me. And I feel like that's what, I don't know if you're similar, but I have a hard time with creating for the sake of creating. And sometimes in society that feels like the way to, get ahead or go viral or whatever it is. But yeah, trying to stay true to that fact that, like, you're never really as a creator, as a filmmaker, you're never truly separate from your art. And so if I'm going to make something, I want it to really resonate with people, and I want my art to be a resemblance of me and to stand alone. So I feel like I've been working on that the last 2 years or so.
I've been working on that for 10 years, just trying to develop a voice. You're trying to,
Yeah.
as an artist, and it is important because, if not, will you just, this show would just be talking about how to 100x, from, buying some shit coins.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And it would just, it wouldn't sit right well with me. And this is why, I use this platform to talk about, people I think are doing interesting work in the space, as well as, within cinema and sort of the merge where media meets these tools. And I like how you're taking your anthropology, and you're also like putting it a little bit more into, I think when we last talked into city planning, was it?
Yeah, so heterotopias. The Michel Foucault, the French philosopher, has really captivated me with this idea of heterotopias, which are worlds within our world that operate mirroring, society, but also very different from society in the ways that people move and view the space. A big example, which really ties into blockchain as well, but a good example that we use when we talk about heterotopias is the prisons, also cemeteries. It's really how people connect, how people live and operate within those ecosystems.
So in terms of, I guess, run me through, if you could, like an example where blockchain could disrupt that.
Yeah, so when we're talking about sidechains, I think Polygon is a great example of that, especially how it runs. So it's running on Ethereum, but at the same time, you're able to really create these other aspects of that. So it's like Polygon's its own real ecosystem, but it's running within Ethereum. And so it's like, it mirrors that, but it's different in it, and it holds different value and meaning to those who are building.
A specific,
and that
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and I could also really see that with like, Bored Ape Yacht Club. That could also be another, with NFTs being so high. It's like, it's a society operating within this other society, and it's not necessarily, when we talk about heterotopias, it's not like a utopia or some like elite society. It's just these experiences mirroring our own experiences in society in this world, but on a very microscopic scale, which it is an absolute just like mind. I don't want to curse on here, but you know what I mean? And so
mind the coffee, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that even in anthropology, and there's so many people who in philosophy who have built on Michel Foucault's idea of heterotopias. And it's just, he never fully fledged what it was that he was trying to explain through this. And so it's weird. It's like your mind can run so many different ways. And so I've been
a lot younger back then, so he probably wasn't able to finish his research.
Exactly. It's like, man, it would have been fascinating to hear what he would think now within this space, especially like metaverse. I think that would really blow his mind, or maybe he already thought about that. Who knows?
What would your thesis be as you sort of are a few steps ahead of everybody into making that connection to his philosophy and the metaverse?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really focused on use cases like with Tezos, and especially in the French village, using that for DAO and proof of stake and voting. And so it's interesting how like they're building these, they're echoing this society. And there's forget the man's name who was building in Nevada, wanted to build, you might know his name off the top of your head. It's he's building a blockchain based like Cryptopia in a way. And I feel like I have Jeffrey Burns might be the
but that
name
guy in Nevada who's building a utopia, and so he's building it with his thesis being that blockchain should be fundamental to voting. Obviously, I think that's probably one of the key cases currently civically that I think could be easily implemented.
Definitely. Yeah, so it's hard because I feel like my mind and my passion is always behind like this language and material culture of coffee. And so I go back and forth where I'm like, oh, could I do something on, with heterotopias in blockchain, or do I want to do something more with material culture and coffee? So my full-fledged thesis hasn't really been thought enough on what I would focus on specifically between those two. But I think there's definitely a ton of research that would be very timely and interesting within that space for sure.
That's what grad school is for. You go
right.
You get to have those great conversations. I miss the competition in grad school. It really sharpens the mind and helps you push your thesis towards that next turn and that next thought. And I did want to ask, for those who are just learning, who are coming to the space and are like, what the hell is a Tezos? Like, how would you, especially girls? I think that's the thing is there's, I'm very proud that my audience is apparently a preponderantly large in terms of female viewership. But I'm always concerned about culturally why it is that we see fewer women in the space. What would you offer as inroads in, other than having your mother marry the blockchain?
I know, right? Yeah. Right. I feel like one of those, what was it? Like they had a meme going around for, I talked to someone who is a Forbes 30 under 30, and they did like, and then the last thing that they had was like, their father was a, like,
He was
was a tech,
like, oh.
a tech company. Yeah. Owner. But yeah, I think especially with females in this space, I think it can often feel, and I notice this whenever I talk to friends, specifically female friends, they don't get it at first, or their mind is like all of us are just kind of like, I don't want to go there or learn about it. So it turns off and we start saying like, oh, I don't understand it. And so my response always when people, especially females, are saying, oh, I just don't understand blockchain. I'm like, do you want to understand it? Because you're super intelligent, you're absolutely capable. If you want to understand it, I would love to share that with you. And like there's so many resources too, like what you're doing with educating people and having the ability to do that so freely. Now there's so much education just like right at our fingertips.
Where would you point that person to? Like a Discord or a Telegram? What would you say that first step is?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm such a visual and audio learner that I would go straight to YouTube. I really think, and taking all that with a grain of salt. Um, Discord, I think, yeah, that's true. You can absolutely get some amazing like community involvement and discussion. Although I will say, even truly me, sometimes I'll get into discussion boards and I feel really behind. I feel like I am not as engaged. I mean, even in our group, I look through what you have like posted and different things that are going on. That's how I stay involved and like keep up with it, because truthfully, and I mentioned to you earlier, like I feel like the last 9 months or so, I've been very disengaged within the space. Not disengaged in the sense of like not keeping up with it, but I feel like I've definitely not been at the forefront, I feel like, in my head.
I think everybody feels like that, honestly, because it moves so fast, and
Yeah.
it's a full-time job just to kind of keep up with all the twists and turns and developments within blockchain. Even just within our segment, it's moving so fast because there's so much money. There's so much focus right now on developing the metaverse, and so many NFT projects dropping left and right that do ostensibly have, a really unique edge to them, or bring, a utility use case within the metaverse that is, you can be awestruck by. And you could spend days just on that one project, and then you're like, you put your head up and you're like, oh God, like 200 more just dropped.
Right.
So the space is moving so fast, and that's why, I enjoy these conversations and want to, bring people like yourself on, because you bring such a unique, great perspective, to this space. And I hope you continue on. As you said, those paths will meet at some point, and you have such a great edge with your start in blockchain. Again, you have like the first movie ever funded on blockchain. You need to create the NFT of your movie, because it is, and it stands for the historical nerds that will pay a gajillion dollars for something because it was a first. I think it was the first, and you have that good fortune of having the inroad to it, but also the great head on your shoulders to merge this within, your documentary communication style, as well as just your astounding media training that, I can see one day really coming together into something special. So I hope that we stay in contact, and that you keep us abreast of your journey, because I think it's a special one.
Thanks. Oh, I appreciate that so much. And one last thing with the, especially talking about the getting used for like females, but also anybody who is new to the space, that you mentioned. And I feel like, just to point out, if you find something, let's say like fashion or real estate or something that is your interest, there is definitely a component to that on blockchain, or there's a component to that that someone's building. Any creators out there who are interested in like, how could I have a subscription based, platform and ecosystem now with NFTs? Creaton is like, I think that's how they pronounce it, is making this new system. And so it's like, there's so many different ways that you could get involved that don't necessarily, you don't have to be an expert in the field to do it.
Wait,
right?
what is Creaton?
Creaton is so it's Creaton, and it's basically like a Patreon. They're going to be NFT based. So for your different levels of subscription content, people can get those different NFTs, and then you're able to generate either monthly or weekly, and you create just those updates for them, whether that's like having this conversation go to the first level of subscribers and that like first, and then a couple weeks later it'll be up on YouTube, and so you like do something that's somehow a little bit ahead or special for each person.
Well, I agree. An interview with Brooke is definitely premium. So
thanks.
This. And Brooke should get a cut on the blockchain.
Love it.
But not here and now, but hopefully in the future. And again, happy to have you as part of the original Crypto Media Friends. And please keep us posted on your really awesome journey.
Thanks. I definitely will. Yeah, amazing. Thank you.